today I want to talk about a couple of things revolving around Gears. And Gears of War, guys, is, in my opinion, one step away from greatness. So let's talk about that. So when I talk about Gears being one step away, it's felt like for a long time now, guys, whether we're talking viewership on Twitch, whether we're talking about viewership on YouTube, we're talking about, net sales from the Gears of War franchise, and really in any way in which you talk about it, Gears of War has felt one step away from the rest of the big IPs out there in the gaming industry. So, when you look at the Fortnites of the world, the Call of Duties, the League of Legends, all of these, different massive IPs, massive games, it's really felt like people in the Gears of War community will tell you that Gears is a niche genre, or not niche genre, but more of a niche game. It's more of a niche title, like, it's not like one of those IPs that's, just groundbreaking, like everybody's, wanting to play it and such. I just disagree. I disagree flat out with this idea that Gears is a niche. Sure, right now, it's felt like kind of an inferior franchise to the likes of Call of Duty and, other games, obviously, even other first-person shooters like Fortnite. But Gears of War has felt like for a long time to me that it's been just one step away from greatness, and there's been things that have held that back. I put some of that on the community. I will say that some of it I'm going to put back on the community, and I might get a little bit of some backlash for that, but I'll give you guys some reasons as to why I feel that way. But I've always just felt that Gears is a franchise that it reminds me a lot of Halo, right? So Halo was pretty much one of the biggest first-person shooters during the years of Halo 2, when it came into, Halo 3, it was starting to get really big. And, even like Halo Reach, the Gears circuit, as far as from the pro scene, I mean, it was a pretty big title. And I know Call of Duty kind of stole that away from Halo. And then Halo, obviously the developers made some mistakes and things happened, especially with Halo 5 Guardians. A lot of people, it was a very divisive game. But I still feel like Halo, people would say now that Halo's niche. It's like a niche game. Or it's a, it's a big community, but it's not like a huge community. And the same people will say that about Gears of War. And Halo, I think, is in the same boat as Gears of War. It's kind of a game in which, in a franchise, that's one step away. And it's been one step away. I feel like Halo may have gotten there, whereas Gears may not have gotten to that kind of forefront, to the top of the top, so to speak. But Gears of War is a game in which, in a franchise in which, I think that there's always been something that's held it back each game that's come out. So Gears of War 3, I felt, was the best Gears game overall that's ever been made, for a number of reasons. But I think that Gears of War 3 really was, it wasn't necessarily groundbreaking, because it was kind of similar to Gears, of War 2 and the first Gears of War. But it kind of solidified this as a franchise, or it solidified it as like a trilogy. And I think that it just introduced a lot of some new things to Gears of War 3, like Beast Mode. And I really thought that they, were just kind of updating or upgrading Horde Mode. And the campaign was absolutely mind-blowing. One of the best and greatest campaigns I've ever played. Just Gears of War 3, I thought that they couldn't get any better than Gears of War 2 when Gears of War 2 came out, because I thought, oh man, Gears of War 1 was incredible, one of the best campaigns I've ever played to this day. Then you have Gears of War 2, I'm like, oh, well, it looks amazing, I'm so hyped about it, and I played it, I'm like, wow, it's even better than I thought it was going to be. And then Gears of War 3, it's like, there's no way it's going to be better than Gears of War 2 or the first game, and it just was mind-blowing. The best one. It was like the best one. And then, of course, we got Gears of War Judgment, which in my opinion were the dark ages of Gears of War, which, is kind of another discussion for another day. Then, of course, the Coalition takeover from Epic Games. And then, of course, you've got the Ultimate Edition. And then, of course, Gears of War 4 to Gears 5. And it's just felt, guys, I'm not going to speak for that of Gears of War 3. As far as, because that was, a while back, that was with Epic Games. But I'm going to talk about right now as to what we've been dealing with the Coalition. And when I'm saying Gears of War is one step from greatness, I mean that in the standpoint of, sure, back in the day when Epic Games were the ones who owned the IP, I felt like with Gears of War 3, Gears of War 2, and even Gears of War, it was one step away from greatness. Like, it may be greatness as far as from our standpoint where we look at it as a franchise or as a game, we think that this is a great game. But as far as like just accepted by everyone, right? I think that it's just been one step away. Now, part of that is going to be that it's exclusive to Xbox. Sure, you can play it on PC, but being an exclusive game makes it a little bit difficult to be able to reach the player base that you might hope, right? And the same issue can come from Halo as well. But part of that, guys, I'm going to say is not really it could be used as an excuse, but it shouldn't be. And I don't think Gears of War would need that. I don't think Halo does either. Because I think that Xbox is big enough. It's a big enough, obviously, console and has a ton of active users and players on it. So what is it? What is it about Gears of War that's been one step away, other than that being it's specific to one console, which is the Xbox? Which, I mean, we could talk about, oh man, it would be a massive game if it was on PlayStation and on Nintendo Switch and all these different, consoles and such. If it was accessible on multiple platforms, man, it would be so much bigger. Yeah, maybe. It would obviously be bigger, right? But I put part of this also on the developers. And I'm not saying that the Coalition aren't doing a great job. Guys, one thing I'm going to say is this. People can bitch and complain about what the Coalition is doing with the IP. But may I remind everyone that if it wasn't for the Coalition, Gears of War would probably be what's known as a completely dead game. Sure, people might say it's a dead game right now, but it is not dead by any stretch. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And it's because of the Coalition that this game is, alive at least. At least it's a franchise that's alive. It's something that there is a passionate fan base behind it. And I'm one of those passionate fans. But sure, I do believe the developers over at the Coalition in particular, they've made some decisions that just, it's kept Gears of War one step from greatness. Now, could Gears of War 7, or I should say Gear 7, or Gear 6, could one of those be the next, could that be the game that gets us over the top? It's very well possible, but I still think that Gears 5 is a game it's not all lost, guys. It's not. And we're going to talk about that. It's not a game that is lost at this point. We've got Gears 5 for at least a few years now before we get Gears 6. So look, let's enjoy it for what it is. Let's voice our opinion to the Coalition. And we've been doing that. We have to remember that the Coalition are going to have their hands tied in certain aspects. Like, they're working with Microsoft here. This is a massive billion-dollar company, right? And there's, of course, going to be agendas to create more revenues for the company. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's the way in which you do that and you do those things. So, look, I'm not going to say that it's all on that the coalition and Microsoft are, they are covered of any, wrongdoings or anything with the franchise that we don't, or they're, I should say that I'm not going to say that they're not at fault here for what's happened with, Gears of War Ultimate Edition to Gears of War 4 to Gears 5, okay? But at the same time, if it wasn't for them, Gears of War would be it would be a dead game. It would be just a game that was of the past, right? And we would just be able to reminisce about the old games, the Gears of War 3, Gears, of War 2, Gears of War Judgment, which were the Dark Ages. I mean, that would be our last remembrance of Gears and the franchise. So first of all, thank you to the coalition, thank you to Microsoft for believing in the brand, because a game that I am very passionate about it exists because of them. It exists because of you all as well, who are fans of the franchise. But look, guys, I'm going to put some of the blame on us as a community. Gears of War is one step from greatness because of us as well. If you're going to put blame on that of the coalition or of Microsoft, or because the game just isn't very, there's things about it that aren't that great, the store isn't good because it's so heavily monetized, or the gameplay just isn't that great, or the characters, there's not enough enough customization, or there's not enough collectibles or earnable items that you get for re-upping in the game. Those are all valid reasons for, being upset about the game and not, maybe putting as much time into it. But I am going to put some blame on us as a community. I believe that, look, if you are a content creator, if you are a streamer, and you love Gears of War, why aren't you creating content around it on a daily basis? Why aren't you streaming it as much as possible? If you're a streamer, why don't you stream it on a consistent basis? Look, guys, this is a game in which doesn't have very many viewers. And instead of us bitching about it, let's do something about it. More of us can stream it. More of us can create content around it and all of those things. And look, I'm at fault too, guys. I'm not saying that I'm going to put it on just the Gears of War, like on everybody else, but I'm doing something right here. No, like I want to do more as well to help continue building out this franchise. It's not just Gears 5, guys. It's Gears of War as a whole. It's creating content around it. It's streaming. It's you as a fan. If you don't create content and you don't stream, then taking in some of that content, supporting your favorite Gears of War streamers, supporting your favorite, Gears of War content creators on YouTube, hitting the thumbs up button, hitting the subscribe button, doing things like that help. And giving criticism as well as, constructive feedback to the coalition and to, just even streamers and content creators as to what content you want to see and what things that you want to see changed about Gears of War and Gears 5. It's up to us to make it a bigger game. Plain and simple, guys. I don't know how else to say it. And I've said this, now, and I said this in a previous 8 Below show episode where, I took a segment of the show just to explain, that we as a community, we got to all do our part to build this scene out. Because the coalition can only do so much. Sure. Is PGL, as far as the PGL esports, are they not really promoting that very well and things of that nature with the esports scene? No, they're not doing that great of a job, okay? We got to call it as it is. But at the same time, guys, we've got to, we have to call those things out, but we got to support each other. I don't see a lot of the pro Gears players streaming a lot. Every once in a while I'll see Explosive or, Sneaky or, Lava or, Mental or, a number one of these of these Gears pro players streaming, but it's not very regularly. And I understand it to a degree. The pro players, they don't like to show all their strats and such while they're, just, scrimming and such, but it really helps build the scene. You look at, just for example, you look at Call of Duty. You look at Scumpy, you look at these massive streamers. Well, they're really big because not only are they pro players, but they're also streaming the game quite a bit. And they're growing, but it's also helping grow the scene, continue to grow that scene of Call of Duty. So I'm just going to challenge everyone to, if you are a content creator or a streamer, just start creating content around it, more content. Stream more, at least. Stream more consistently. I'm trying to do my part, guys, and I want to do my part, but it's going to be up to all of us. If you're just a fan of the game, take in some of those streams from your favorite streamers who stream Gears. Take in some of that content on YouTube and support those creators and those streamers who are trying to do it. Give that criticism and that feedback to the coalition. And let's just keep building this thing out. Slowly but surely. It's going to take time, guys. It's going to take time. I think everyone was expecting Gears 5. It was all just going to change. Everything, it was just going to be this massive ordeal right off the rip. And, it had a shaky launch. Did the game launch too early? Almost it wasn't quite finished yet? That's debatable, and that's something that very well could have happened, but the game launched, okay? We can't really look back on what could have happened, what should have happened, all of those things. We got to look at where we're at right now, and we got to try to make it better. Because guess what, guys? The consistent complaining and just, saying, oh, I'm done with this game, I'm giving up on it, I'm moving on to other things of that nature, it breeds, it's like an infectious, just bad vibes throughout the community. And what that creates, guys, is divisiveness. It creates, it almost makes it where, how can the developers over at the Coalition and Microsoft, how can they, justify making another Gears of War title if, number one, the consistent amount of the player base isn't growing, it's actually getting smaller, and the support isn't there with the esports scene. It's not there when it comes to content creation and streaming, or stream-wise. We've got to be the reason that it continues. If you love Gears of War, we have got to be the ones making a stand on it and doing what we can to continue creating content, streaming. We're going to try to do our part. It's up to everyone else to take in that content and to give that constructive criticism, that feedback, even to streamers and content creators as to what kind of content you want to see around Gears of War. Whether that's about Gears 5 or one of the previous Gears of War games, or if we're talking about the future of Gears. There's so much to be made and so much to be told within this universe, in this franchise. Let's make it happen, guys. Let's work together to take that next step in the Gears of War franchise from one step to greatness to greatness.